Valentina Blackwood slammed her office door shut, hands trembling as she stared at the email notification on her phone. Nathaniel Reed, her ex-colleague, ex-boyfriend, and now ex-everything, had just been awarded the Huntington Medal for her discovery. Her discovery, the one he'd stolen along with 2 years of her research data. 3 missed calls from Dean Harris, her assistant, called through the door. He wants to know if you're attending the ceremony. Tell him I've contracted a highly contagious disease. Valentina called back, her voice steadier than she felt. She dropped into her chair and clicked open the notification. The subject line read, Thorne Foundation, immediate position available. The Thorne Foundation. Even in her academic circles, that name carried weight. Their archaeological grants were legendary and legendarily difficult to get. Suspicion immediately replaced her anger. This had to be some cruel prank from Nathaniel. The email was brief and direct. Dr. Blackwood, the Thorne Foundation seeks a lead archaeologist for immediate excavation oversight at our historic Massachusetts estate. Your expertise in North American colonial artifacts has come to our attention. Compensation package, $250,000 annual plus benefits. Housing provided on-site. 5-year contract with renewal option. If interested, please respond by end of day. Sinclair Wright, Chief of Staff. Thorne Foundation. Valentina read it twice, then a third time. No university would match this salary. It would put her financial worries, including her mother's mounting medical bills, to rest. But something felt off. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Blackwood speaking. Dr. Blackwood, this is Sinclair Wright from the Thorne Foundation. I trust you received our email. The man's voice was crisp, efficient. I did, but I have questions. Valentina straightened. How did you get my contact information? And why me? I'm not exactly in the spotlight at the moment. There was a pause. On the contrary, your situation is precisely why Mr. Thorne authorized this offer. He appreciates researchers who've been. A delicate pause, undervalued by their institutions. Translation, they knew Nathaniel had stolen her work. The realization sent a chill down her spine. Mr. Thorne, that would be Elliot Thorne. Everyone knew about Elliot Thorne, the tech billionaire whose name frequently appeared alongside words like reclusive, volatile, and occasionally dangerous. His AI security company, Thorne Technologies, had government contracts that fueled endless conspiracy theories. Yes, Mr. Thorne takes a personal interest in this project, though your day-to-day interactions would be minimal. Thank God for small mercies. What exactly would I be excavating? The original Thorne estate dates to 1742. Recent ground-penetrating radar revealed what appears to be a previously unknown structure beneath the East Gardens. Mr. Thorne wishes to have it professionally excavated before the estate's renovation. Valentina's archaeological instincts perked up despite her suspicions. Colonial-era hidden structures were rare finds. When would this start? Immediately. A car can collect you and your essential belongings tomorrow. The rest can be shipped later. Tomorrow. The Huntington Medal ceremony was tomorrow. One last question, Mr. Wright. How did you really find me? My work isn't that well known. Another pause. Mr. Thorne has a particular interest in identifying talented individuals who've been victims of intellectual theft. Your dissertation was brilliant, Dr. Blackwood. The subsequent papers published under Dr. Reed's name show a marked decline in methodological consistency. Valentina felt her throat tighten. Someone had noticed. Someone powerful had noticed. I'll need the offer in writing, with details about research ownership and publication rights. Check your inbox. The contract was attached to the original email. Mr. Thorne is quite protective of his researchers' intellectual property rights. Of course he was. Ruthless billionaires didn't build empires by letting others steal their work. 36 hours later, Valentina stood at the gates of the Thorne estate in Rockport, Massachusetts. The Atlantic stretched out beyond the cliffs, and the sprawling property looked like something from another century. Gothic Revival architecture, immaculate gardens, and stone walls that promised centuries of secrets. A tall, gray-haired man approached. Dr. Blackwood? Sinclair Wright. Welcome to Thorne Haven. As Wright led her down the crushed shell path toward the main house, Valentina noticed cameras tracking their movement, nearly invisible among the tree branches. Security befitting a paranoid tech billionaire. Mr. Thorne is currently in Boston, but wishes to meet you when the initial survey is complete. Your equipment arrived this morning, and we've set up the lab to your specifications. I'd like to see the site first, Valentina said. Wright nodded, changing direction toward a walled garden. Of course, the ground-penetrating radar results are most unusual. Mr. Thorne believes what we've found may significantly alter the historical record of this region. As they rounded the corner, Valentina stopped short. The garden had been transformed into a perfect archaeological grid, with state-of-the-art equipment she'd only read about in journals. A team of technicians was already at work. Is there something specific Mr. Thorne expects to find? She asked carefully. Wright's expression remained neutral. Mr. Thorne expects you to find the truth, Dr. Blackwood. Whatever that might be. A cold wind blew in from the ocean, and Valentina felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the temperature. She had escaped one danger only to walk straight into another. Nathaniel Reed might have stolen her past, but Elliot Thorne now owned her future. Elliot Thorne despised interruptions. He especially despised them when they came in the form of his chief of security barging into his private office without knocking. This better involve national security or someone's death, Elliot said without looking up from his screens. Lines of code scrolled past as he personally reviewed the latest security protocol for the Pentagon contract. It's about the Rockport excavation, James Reeves said, placing a tablet on Elliot's desk. They found something. Elliot's fingers paused over his keyboard. 2 weeks had passed since he'd hired Dr. Valentina Blackwood. 2 weeks with her meticulous daily reports that revealed nothing of significance. Until now. He picked up the tablet. The image showed what appeared to be a stone medallion carved with a symbol he instantly recognized, a stylized eagle clutching a key in its talons. Where exactly was this found? Northeast quadrant, 7 feet down. Dr. Blackwood uncovered it herself about an hour ago. Elliot zoomed in on the artifact. It shouldn't exist. Not here. Not on property his adoptive father had acquired 30 years ago. Send the helicopter. I'll leave immediately. Reeves hesitated. Sir, about Dr. Blackwood. What about her? She's requesting access to the estate's historical records. Says it would help contextualize the find. Denied. Elliot stood, already reaching for his jacket. Have Wright inform her that those records aren't cataloged yet. I'll address her questions personally. 3 hours later, Elliot strode across the excavation site, irritated to find it empty except for a single figure kneeling in the dirt. The woman didn't look up as he approached, completely absorbed in carefully brushing soil from what appeared to be the edge of a larger stone slab. Dr. Blackwood. She glanced up, squinting against the late afternoon sun. No hint of recognition or deference crossed her face. You're interrupting a delicate extraction. Unless you're qualified in archaeological recovery, I suggest you step back behind the boundary tape. Elliot almost smiled. It had been a long time since anyone had spoken to him that way. Most people recognized him instantly, fear or obsequiousness their default response. I own this property and everything you're digging up. Now she stood, brushing dirt from her knees. Recognition dawned in her eyes, but the expected apology never came. Mr. Thorne, I'd say it's nice to meet you, but I don't appreciate having my access to relevant historical documents blocked. She gestured to the partially exposed medallion. This symbol has historical significance. I need to understand its context within your family estate. It has no connection to my family. The words came out sharper than intended. Valentina crossed her arms. Then you won't mind explaining why the same symbol appears on the cornerstone of the main house. Elliot stilled. That was impossible. He'd examined every inch of this property after purchasing it, erasing all traces of. Show me. 10 minutes later, they stood before the northeastern cornerstone of the mansion. The carved symbol was weathered but unmistakable, identical to the one being excavated. The Society of the Vigilant Key, Valentina said, watching his face carefully. A secret fraternal order active in New England from approximately 1770 to 1880. Very little is known about them except that they included some of Boston's wealthiest merchants and political figures. And you know this how? I wrote my master's thesis on secret societies of colonial New England. Finding evidence of the Vigilant Key's activities is significant. They left almost no physical records. Elliot's mind raced. If this property contained artifacts connected to the Vigilant Key, then his adoptive father's acquisition of it couldn't have been coincidental. Victor Thorne never did anything without calculation. The medallion stays in place until I've had time to examine it personally, he said. That's not standard archaeological protocol. This isn't a standard excavation. Elliot turned to face her directly. This is private property, and while I value your expertise, Dr. Blackwood, I make the final decisions here. For a moment, she said nothing, her green eyes assessing him with unsettling directness. Then she stepped closer, close enough that he could smell the faint scent of vanilla and coffee on her skin. Let me be equally clear, Mr. Thorne. I was hired to conduct a professional excavation, not to participate in whatever game you're playing. If you want me to continue, I need full access to any historical information pertaining to this property and complete curatorial control over all artifacts discovered. Or I walk, and you can explain to whatever government agency oversees historical preservation why your unpermitted dig was abandoned mid-excavation. A bluff. It had to be. She needed this job, this escape from her academic humiliation. But looking at her unwavering expression, Elliot wasn't entirely certain. You'll have restricted access to the historical documents, he conceded. My private office, supervised review only. As for the artifacts, they remain property of the Thorne Foundation but will be handled according to proper archaeological standards. Valentina considered, then gave a curt nod. Acceptable for now. I'll continue the extraction of the medallion tomorrow morning. I'll be present. 7 a.m., she said, turning to leave. Don't be late. As she walked away, Elliot reached out and touched the weathered symbol on the cornerstone. The Society of the Vigilant Key. His adoptive father had been searching for something connected to them, something valuable enough to kill for. And now, decades later, whatever Victor had failed to find was surfacing beneath Elliot's watch. That night, as rain lashed against the windows of his temporary office in the East Wing, Elliot pulled up Dr. Blackwood's complete file on his secure server. Her academic record was impeccable until the recent plagiarism incident involving her former colleague and boyfriend, Nathaniel Reed. The injustice of her situation had initially caught Elliot's attention, intellectual theft being particularly abhorrent to him. But now he wondered if hiring her had been a mistake. She was too perceptive, too knowledgeable about the very thing he needed to keep buried. His phone buzzed with a message from James Reeves. Background check complete on West Coast situation. Possible corporate espionage connection confirmed. Sophia. She was making moves again after 2 years of silence. The timing couldn't be coincidental. Elliot closed Valentina's file and stared out at the storm. The past never stayed buried. Not his father's secrets, not his own, and now ancient ones were literally emerging from the ground beneath his feet. 3 weeks into the excavation, Valentina stared at the artifacts laid out on the laboratory table, connecting invisible threads between them. The medallion had been just the beginning. Since then, her team had uncovered a sealed underground chamber containing dozens of items bearing the Vigilant Key symbol, ledgers with encrypted entries, strange mechanical components that resembled clockwork but with inexplicable modifications, and technical drawings unlike anything from the documented colonial period. They're patent designs, she murmured, carefully turning one of the weathered parchments. But far too advanced for the late 1700s. The drawings depicted what appeared to be electrical circuitry decades before such concepts existed. Another showed a communication device with annotated frequency calculations. The level of technological understanding was impossible for that era. Reviewing your finds, Dr. Blackwood? Valentina controlled her startled reaction as Elliot Thorne entered the laboratory. After their initial confrontation, he'd kept his distance, observing the excavation from afar but never directly interfering. Today, however, his attention was focused squarely on the technical drawings. These documents challenge established timelines of technological development, she said, watching his expression carefully. They're either elaborate hoaxes or evidence of knowledge that shouldn't have existed during this period. Elliot picked up one of the drawings, examining it with the practiced eye of someone who understood advanced engineering. Or evidence that history as we know it is incomplete. That's why I need access to the complete historical records of this property. These artifacts didn't appear in isolation. The people who created them had funding, resources, infrastructure. Like the original owners of this estate, the Ashford family. Valentina nodded. They were founding members of the Society of the Vigilant Key, but disappeared from historical records around 1820. No death certificates, No property transfers. They simply vanished. Along with their technological innovations, Elliot added, setting down the drawing. The implication hung in the air between them. Something significant had happened here, something deliberately erased from history. Elliot checked his watch. Come with me, Dr. Blackwood. I believe it's time you had access to those records you've been requesting. 10 minutes later, they entered Elliot's private study in the mansion's west wing. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined the walls, and a massive oak desk dominated the center of the room. Elliot approached a bookshelf, pressed something beneath it, and a section swung outward to reveal a hidden room. The original study of Lawrence Ashford, preserved exactly as it was found when my father acquired this property. Valentina stepped inside, momentarily forgetting her suspicions in the face of this historical treasure trove. The small room contained a writing desk, scientific instruments, and shelves of leather-bound journals. These have never been cataloged? She asked incredulously. Not officially. Elliot remained in the doorway. My father had particular interests regarding the Ashford legacy. After his death, I sealed this room until I could determine what to do with its contents. Valentina pulled on archival gloves and carefully opened one of the journals. The pages contained the same encrypted text as the ledgers from the excavation. You can read this, can't you? She asked suddenly, looking up at Elliot. His expression remained neutral. What makes you say that? Because you're not surprised by anything we've found. You knew about the society and their technological innovations before I uncovered that medallion. For several long moments, Elliot said nothing. Then he entered the room and closed the door behind him. The Society of the Vigilant Key was more than a fraternal order. They were scientists and inventors working decades ahead of their time, developing technologies that would have transformed the world had they been released. But they weren't released. Why? Because someone stole them. Elliot opened a cabinet and removed a small wooden box. The Society's core technologies disappeared in 1820, the same year the Ashford family vanished. Those technologies reappeared 20 years later, patented by industrialists who became some of America's wealthiest men. Valentina's archaeological mind quickly made the connection. Industrial theft on a historic scale. The greatest in American history. Elliot opened the box, revealing a small brass key. This is what remains of the Ashford legacy. A key to their most important innovation, something so valuable it was never found by the thieves. Before Valentina could respond, her phone buzzed with a notification. The message made her blood run cold. Nathaniel Reed had just been appointed as a special consultant to the Huntington Museum's new exhibit on colonial innovation, an exhibit funded by Westfield Industries. Something wrong? Elliot asked. Just an unwelcome blast from the past. She put her phone away, but not before Elliot glimpsed the screen. Nathaniel Reed, the man who stole your research. His voice hardened, and now connected to Sophia Westfield's company. Valentina looked up sharply. You know Sophia Westfield? A flash of something dangerous crossed Elliot's face. Former business partner. Current adversary. Her family built their fortune on stolen innovations. Apparently a tradition they continue. The tension in the room shifted, charged with a new current of shared understanding. Both had been victims of intellectual theft. Both understood the rage that came with watching others profit from stolen ideas. Why show me this now? Valentina asked, gesturing to the hidden study. Because what you're uncovering isn't just historically significant. It's personally significant. To me. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Valentina saw past Elliot Thorne's carefully constructed walls. Whatever was buried on this property, whatever secrets the society had hidden, they weren't merely academic curiosities to him. They were pieces of a puzzle he'd been trying to solve his entire life. In Boston, Sophia Westfield set down her phone with a satisfied smile. Her investigator had confirmed that Elliot Thorne had hired Valentina Blackwood, the same researcher whose work had been so thoroughly discredited thanks to Nathaniel Reed. Is everything proceeding as planned? She asked the man sitting across from her. Nathaniel Reed swirled his whiskey, the museum appointment letter still open on his tablet. Perfectly. Thorne has no idea we know about the Ashford technology. Once Blackwood discovers the vault location, we'll have everything we need. And she'll help us without realizing it, Sophia said. After all, revenge is a powerful motivator, and we've given her every reason to want it. The Thorne Foundation Charity Gala transformed the mansion's ballroom into a glittering showcase of wealth and influence. Boston's elites circulated beneath crystal chandeliers, their conversations a gentle hum beneath the string quartet. Valentina felt distinctly out of place in her borrowed gown. A midnight blue creation Sinclair Wright had somehow procured in exactly her size. "You clean up well, Dr. Blackwood," Elliot said, appearing beside her with 2 champagne flutes. The formal black tuxedo emphasized his lean strength, making him look more approachable than his usual severe business attire. "As do you, Mr. Thorne," she replied, accepting the champagne. "Though I'm still not clear why my presence was required tonight. Several potential donors are history enthusiasts. Your expertise adds credibility to the Foundation's preservation efforts." Valentina took a sip of champagne. "And the real reason?" The slight upturn of Elliot's mouth suggested approval of her directness. "I don't like attending these things alone. My presence is obligatory. Yours makes it tolerable." The unexpected honesty caught her off guard. Over the past weeks, they had developed a cautious working relationship, spending hours analyzing the Society's documents together. Elliot's knowledge of historical encryption had proven invaluable, and his genuine fascination with the artifacts had gradually softened her initial wariness. Elliot Thorne, making social concessions. The tabloids would never believe it. The tabloids think I'm a reclusive megalomaniac building doomsday bunkers. Aren't you? She teased. His laugh was unexpected and genuine. Only on Tuesdays. The moment of connection was interrupted by a ripple in the crowd. Whispers spread as a striking woman in a crimson gown made her entrance, commanding attention with each deliberate step. "Sophia," Elliot said, his entire demeanor shifting. The warmth vanished, replaced by cold vigilance. Valentina didn't need the introduction to recognize Sophia Westfield. The tech heiress's face regularly graced business magazines and society pages. She wasn't on the guest list, Elliot muttered, setting down his glass. "Stay here." "Not a chance," Valentina countered, following as he moved towards Sophia. Sophia spotted them, her perfect smile widening. "Elliot, darling, your security remains embarrassingly penetrable, as does your sense of propriety," Elliot replied. "This is a private event. For a public charity. I brought a donation." Sophia produced a check with a flourish. $5 million should secure me an invitation, wouldn't you agree? Elliot's jaw tightened. "What do you want, Sophia?" "To meet your new pet archaeologist, of course." Sophia turned her predatory smile on Valentina. "Dr. Blackwood, your reputation precedes you. Such a shame about that plagiarism scandal." "Alleged plagiarism," Valentina corrected smoothly. "Though I'm sure the concept of intellectual property means little to Westfield Industries." Sophia's eyes narrowed fractionally before she laughed. "She has teeth, Elliot. Better than your usual type." "Ms. Westfield was just leaving," Elliot said, signaling security with a subtle gesture. "Not before delivering my warning." Sophia stepped closer, her voice dropping. "Your father knew when to cut his losses, Elliot. The Ashford technology doesn't belong to you. Never did. Back away before things get messy." "Is that a threat?" "It's history repeating itself." Sophia pressed the donation check into his hand. "Consider this a gesture of goodwill, for old times' sake." As security approached, Sophia turned to leave, pausing next to Valentina. "Be careful digging into the past, Dr. Blackwood. Some secrets are buried for good reason." After she departed, Elliot crumpled the check. "I apologize for that." Sophia specializes in dramatic entrances and veiled threats. "She knows about the excavation," Valentina said. "About the Ashford technology." "Yes." Elliot guided her toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. "Which means we need to accelerate our timeline. Whatever the Society was protecting, we need to find it before Sophia does." The intensity in his eyes stirred something in Valentina, a dangerous blending of professional excitement and personal attraction she'd promised herself to avoid after Nathaniel's betrayal. "Elliot," she began, then stopped as his hand lightly touched her bare shoulder. "Dance with me," he said quietly. "We're attracting attention standing here." The string quartet had begun a waltz. Elliot led her onto the dance floor with unexpected grace, his hand warm at the small of her back. "Sophia will have informants here," he explained, his voice low near her ear. "We need to appear untroubled by her appearance." Valentina nodded, hyper-aware of his proximity. Your history with her seems complicated. We were business partners before she attempted to steal proprietary technology from Thorn Industries. The personal relationship ended simultaneously. She was more than a business partner, Valentina observed. Elliot's eyes met hers. Yes, a mistake I don't intend to repeat. The music swelled, and conversation became temporarily impossible as they moved together. Valentina found herself relaxing into his lead, the tension of Sophia's appearance fading beneath the rhythm of the dance and the subtle pressure of Elliot's hand on her back. When the music ended, they remained momentarily still, caught in an unexpected moment of connection. I should check on the other guests, Elliot said finally, his voice rougher than usual. Of course. Valentina stepped back, breaking the spell. I'll circulate as requested. Dazzle your donors with archaeological anecdotes. His smile returned. Just don't mention the quantum circuitry designs we found. That might require more explanation than I'm prepared to give. As she watched him move through the crowd, Valentina wrestled with her conflicting emotions. Professional ethics demanded objectivity. Self-preservation warned against trusting another powerful man with secrets and agendas. Yet something about Elliot Thorne, his intelligence, his unexpected moments of vulnerability, kept breaching her carefully constructed defenses. 3 days after the gala, Valentina discovered something in the Ashford journals that changed everything. Buried in the encrypted text was a reference to an invention called the Ashford transmitter, a device that could, according to the cryptic description, communicate across insurmountable distances without detection. The journal included design elements that matched some of the excavated components. If assembled, they might prove that the Ashford family had developed wireless communication technology nearly a century before Marconi. As she downloaded the findings to her tablet, a notification appeared, an email with attachments sent to her Thorn Foundation account. The sender was listed only as Truth Seeker. The message contained 3 words: Thorn knows everything. The attachments were photographs, surveillance images of Elliot meeting with someone who looked remarkably like Nathaniel Reed, followed by documents showing financial transfers from Thorn Industries to offshore accounts linked to plagiarism cases in academic institutions. A final image showed a memo with Elliot's signature, dated before she was hired, outlining plans to use the Ashford technology for military applications once recovered. Valentina stared at her screen, the familiar cold sensation of betrayal washing over her. She'd been manipulated again, used for her expertise by someone with hidden motives. When her lab door opened and Elliot entered, his expression immediately darkened at the sight of her face. What's wrong? Valentina turned her tablet toward him, displaying the damning images. You tell me. Elliot examined the images on the tablet, his face betraying nothing but calculated analysis. These are sophisticated fabrications. That's your defense. Valentina stepped back, arms crossed. I'm looking at you meeting with Nathaniel Reed and documents showing you financed academic fraud. I've never met this man. Elliot zoomed in on the photo. Look closer at the lighting inconsistencies. Classic digital manipulation. Valentina wanted to believe him, but experience had taught her painful lessons about trust. The memo has your signature. It says you plan to weaponize the Ashford technology all along. That's not my signature. Close, but the pressure points are wrong. His eyes met hers. Think, Valentina. The timing is too convenient. Right after you discovered references to the Ashford transmitter. You knew about the transmitter? I suspected. The journals hinted at communication technology. He moved toward her workstation. Someone has compromised our systems. Who sent these? Anonymous. Truth Seeker. Elliot's phone chimed. He checked it, jaw tightening. My security director needs to see me immediately. Review these documents scientifically, not emotionally. Verify the metadata. Check signature pressure patterns against known samples. You're a scientist. Act like one. After he left, Valentina stared at the evidence. His calm demeanor didn't fit with someone caught in deception. Either he was telling the truth, or he was dangerously composed under pressure. She spent the evening analyzing the documents, finding subtle but damning inconsistencies. The signature's pressure patterns didn't match Elliot's other documents. The metadata showed image manipulation. Reluctantly, she acknowledged these could indeed be forgeries. The next morning, Elliot confronted her in the lab, his expression severe. I need to know where you stand, Dr. Blackwood. Do you believe I orchestrated some elaborate conspiracy with the man who stole your work? I don't know what to believe, she admitted. But these documents appear to be manipulated. There's Sophia's work. She's trying to drive a wedge between us now that we're close to finding something valuable. He maintained careful distance between them. I understand your hesitation to trust me. Trust the evidence instead. Something in his controlled vulnerability reached her. I need time. We don't have it. My security team intercepted communications between Sophia Westfield and someone inside our operation. Information about our discoveries is being leaked. Valentina returned to the excavation with heightened awareness, documenting her findings in handwritten notes only. 3 days later, she discovered architectural drawings in the Ashford journals showing a conservatory that no longer existed on the property. Using ground-penetrating radar, she confirmed foundations beneath what was now a rose garden. She initiated excavation without informing Elliot, telling the crew it was a routine extension. By sunset, they had uncovered the conservatory's foundation and a small sealed vault bearing the vigilant key symbol. Secure the site for the night, she instructed the crew. We'll open it tomorrow with proper documentation. Hours later, after ensuring she wasn't followed, Valentina returned alone. The vault's lock mechanism yielded surprisingly easily to her specialized tools. Inside lay a small wooden box containing a brass component similar to others they discovered, but with distinct variations. This had to be the master control element for the Ashford technology. As she photographed it, her camera flash illuminated movement behind a nearby hedge. Impressive work, Dr. Blackwood. Marcus, Elliot's typically silent security director, stepped forward. Mr. Thorne was right about your investigative skills. You've been following me, protecting you, which is fortunate, considering we're not alone. He gestured subtly toward the garden entrance. 2 individuals entered the property 10 minutes ago. One matches photos of Nathaniel Reed. Valentina's blood ran cold. How would he know about this? Someone's been feeding information to Westfield Industries. May I? He indicated the component she held. She hesitated, then handed it over. Marcus secured it in a specialized case. Mr. Thorne is waiting in the secure room beneath the main house. We need to move now, while our visitors are searching the wrong section of the garden. They slipped away through a hidden path, Marcus constantly scanning their surroundings. They had nearly reached the mansion when a shot cracked through the night. Marcus stumbled, blood blossoming on his shoulder. Run, he gasped, shoving the case into her hands. Valentina sprinted toward the house as another shot splintered bark near her head. She reached the side entrance, slamming through it and locking it behind her. The security panel flashed red as she fumbled with the alarm code Elliot had given her for emergencies. Her phone rang, unknown number. Hello, Valentina. Nathaniel's voice was unnervingly calm. That component belongs to Sophia Westfield. Historical rights of inheritance. Be reasonable and bring it out. No one needs to get hurt. Like you just hurt Marcus? A regrettable necessity. Thorne's people are notoriously difficult to negotiate with. Go to hell, Nathaniel. She ended the call and texted Elliot. Conservatory vault. Found component. Marcus shot. Read here. She continued deeper into the house, heading for the study with the hidden room. As she rounded a corner, a figure stepped out, making her gasp. Inside. Now. Elliot pulled her into the study, immediately securing multiple locks. Are you hurt? No, but Marcus, medical team, is en route. He took the case, examining the component briefly before securing it in a hidden wall safe. You found the transmitter control. How did Nathaniel know exactly when and where to look? The only people who knew about the conservatory excavation were my team, and she stopped, the implication hanging between them. And me, Elliot finished. Which is why you didn't tell me when you found the vault. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken accusations and fragile trust. Someone accessed your email account yesterday, Elliot said finally. Security flagged it. The login came from Boston, from a Westfield Industries subsidiary. Before Valentina could respond, the security system chimed. Surveillance footage showed police vehicles arriving, followed by an ambulance. Nathaniel will be gone, she said. He's too smart to get caught. I'm not interested in catching him tonight. Elliot's expression was coldly determined. I'm interested in finding out how deep this conspiracy goes. Valentina felt the weight of accumulated secrets and shifting allegiances. The fabricated documents, the ambush tonight, Someone wanted me to distrust you enough to take the component directly to them. And now that it didn't work, they'll try something more direct. She recalled Nathaniel's confident tone. He mentioned historical rights of inheritance. Does Sophia Westfield have some connection to the Ashford family? Something flashed in Elliot's eyes, recognition, followed by grim understanding. Yes, the same connection I do. Valentina watched the steady rise and fall of the heart monitor beside Marcus's hospital bed. The security director had survived surgery but remained unconscious, his shoulder heavily bandaged. Armed guards stood outside his room, Elliot taking no chances after the attack. You should get some rest, Elliot said, entering with 2 coffee cups. 3 days had passed since the ambush, days spent in tense strategy sessions and heightened security protocols. I keep thinking it should be me in that bed, she said, accepting the coffee. He took that bullet protecting me. Marcus was doing his job, which includes spying on me. Elliot sat beside her. After the fabricated evidence appeared, I had him monitor everyone, including you. I couldn't risk the component falling into Sophia's hands. The tension that had simmered between them since that night remained unresolved. Elliot had revealed little about his connection to the Ashfords, insisting they focus first on security. You promised me answers, Valentina said. About Sophia. About the Ashfords. Elliot checked his watch. Not here. The helicopter leaves in 20 minutes. Helicopter? To where? My private residence in Vermont. The component isn't safe at Rockport anymore. An hour later, they were airborne, the Massachusetts coastline receding behind them. Elliot handed her a secure tablet. These are DNA profiles. Mine, Sophia's, and genetic material recovered from preserved hair samples in Lawrence Ashford's personal effects. Valentina studied the results, her archaeologist's mind quickly connecting the implications. You're both descended from the Ashfords. Sophia and I share a great-great-grandfather, Lawrence Ashford. His son split the family into 2 branches after the theft of the Ashford technology. One branch changed their name to Westfield, the other eventually became the Thorns. And neither family knew of the connection? My adoptive father knew. Elliot's expression darkened. Victor Thorne spent decades tracing the Ashford legacy, acquiring properties and artifacts connected to them. Adoptive father? Valentina looked up sharply. I was 8 when Victor Thorne acquired me from an international trafficking ring. He recognized certain aptitudes that interested him. The clinical way he described his childhood sent a chill through Valentina. He bought you. He saved me from worse fates, then shaped me into his successor. Victor was involved in government black projects, weapons development, surveillance systems. He believed the Ashford technology would be his crowning achievement. And now you're continuing his search. I'm completing it, but not for his reasons. Elliot turned to the window, watching the mountains appear on the horizon. Victor wanted power. I want justice. The Ashford innovations were stolen by both sides of the family. Neither deserved them. They landed at a secluded compound nestled in the Vermont mountains. Unlike the historical grandeur of the Rockport estate, this property was modern, minimalist, and clearly designed for security. Inside, Elliot led her to a laboratory that rivaled any university research facility. The component from the vault now sat in a specialized chamber, connected to diagnostic equipment. Early analysis confirms it's a control module for some form of quantum entanglement communications, Elliot explained. Theoretically impossible for that time period. The Ashfords were at least a century ahead of documented technological development. Valentina examined the readouts. And potentially valuable enough to kill for, even now. Especially now? Instant, untraceable, unhackable communication? Every intelligence agency and tech company in the world would destroy lives for this. As they worked through the night, analyzing the component structure and comparing it with the journals, Valentina grew increasingly aware of their isolation. The compound was staffed only by essential security personnel, with no other researchers present. You don't trust your own team with this, she observed. I don't trust anyone with this, Elliot replied without looking up from his calculations. Except, apparently, you. The admission hung in the air between them, significant in its understated delivery. Why me? Finally, he turned to face her. Because you understand what it means to have your work stolen, your contribution erased. Because your first instinct upon finding this wasn't to monetize it or weaponize it, but to document it accurately for history. They were standing close now, the late hour and shared discovery creating an intimacy neither had intended. My father died believing the Ashford legacy would make him untouchable. Elliot continued, his voice low. Sophia believes it's her corporate birthright. But you see it for what it really is, evidence of human ingenuity that should belong to everyone. Valentina felt the last of her suspicion giving way to something more dangerous, trust, layered with undeniable attraction. Elliot, the compound's alarm system suddenly blared to life. Red emergency lights bathed the laboratory as the security shutters automatically deployed. Perimeter breach, Elliot snapped, moving instantly to a control panel. Security camera feeds showed armed figures moving through the tree line surrounding the property. Nathaniel? Valentina asked, her heart racing. Too professional for him. This is a tactical team. Elliot secured the component in a specialized case. We have 4 minutes before they breach the building. What about your security staff? Outnumbered. They'll follow protocol, delay the intruders, not engage directly. He moved to a bookshelf, activated a hidden mechanism, and revealed a concealed passage. This leads to an emergency exit tunnel. Take the component and go. I'm not leaving without you. This isn't negotiable, Valentina. If they capture both of us with the component, we have no leverage. A distant explosion rocked the building. The intruders had breached the outer defenses faster than expected. 2 minutes, Elliot said, handing her the case and a satellite phone. The tunnel ends at a maintenance shed with an ATV. The coordinates for the safe house are already programmed into its navigation system. And what will you be doing? Buying you time and gathering intelligence. His expression softened momentarily. I'll find you. Trust me on this if nothing else. Before she could protest further, he pulled her into a fierce, unexpected kiss. Just as quickly, he released her and pressed the case firmly into her hands. Go. Now. Heart pounding, Valentina entered the passage. The door sealed behind her, leaving only the dim glow of emergency lighting. She ran through the narrow tunnel, the weight of centuries of Ashford's secrets clutched against her chest. When she emerged from the shed, dawn was breaking over the mountains. The ATV waited as promised, but as she loaded the case, her satellite phone chimed with a text message from an unknown number. The message contained a single image. Elliot, bloodied but conscious, held at gunpoint by men in tactical gear. Below the image was a set of coordinates and 3 words, trade required. Come alone. Valentina stared at the screen, recognizing the landscape in the photo. The coordinates weren't far, an abandoned hunting lodge she had noticed during their helicopter approach. Standard procedure would be to contact authorities or Elliot's security team. But with a possible mole in his organization and no way to know who had taken him, standard procedures seemed dangerously inadequate. She examined the component case. Whatever the Ashford device could do, it had already cost Marcus a bullet and now threatened Elliot's life. The responsible choice would be to secure it at the safe house first. Instead, Valentina programmed the new coordinates into the ATV's navigation system and checked the hunting knife Elliot had insisted she carry. Her archaeological training had taught her to preserve history at all costs. Now she had to decide if that included the man who had unexpectedly become part of her own. The abandoned hunting lodge appeared deserted as Valentina approached on foot, having concealed the ATV a quarter-mile back. Morning mist clung to the surrounding pines, providing limited cover as she circled the perimeter. 2 SUVs with tinted windows were parked behind the structure, the only visible signs of occupation. The component case weighed heavily in her backpack, a bargaining chip she had no intention of surrendering without guarantees. A twig snapped behind her. Valentina whirled, knife ready. Easy, Dr. Blackwood. A man in tactical gear emerged from the trees, his rifle pointed at the ground, a deliberate non-threat. You're expected inside. Where's Elliot Thorne? Alive. Cooperative. More than I can say for some of my colleagues who encountered him. He gestured toward the lodge. After you. Inside, the rustic space had been converted into a makeshift operations center. Communications equipment lined one wall, while tactical gear was stacked near the entrance. 3 armed men monitored screens displaying security feeds. Elliot sat handcuffed to a heavy wooden chair, his face bruised but expression defiant. Relief flashed briefly in his eyes when he saw her, quickly replaced by anger. I told you to go to the safe house, he said. Since when do I follow orders? Valentina kept her tone casual while assessing the situation. 5 men total, all armed but not immediately hostile. Touching reunion. Sophia Westfield descended the stairs from the lodge's upper level, immaculate despite the remote location. I see Elliot has finally found someone as stubborn as himself. Let him go, Valentina said. This is between you and me now. Hardly. This is family business spanning 2 centuries. Sophia circled Elliot's chair. Though I must thank you for expediting our recovery timeline. We've been searching for the control component for decades. Valentina remained standing, keeping all occupants in view. Westfield Industries has certain governmental partnerships. Sophia nodded toward the tactical team. These gentlemen represent interested parties who prefer to remain officially uninvolved. Black Ops, Elliot said flatly. Same ones my father worked with. Victor Thorne was brilliant but ultimately misguided, Sophia replied. He believed the Ashford technology should be controlled by one person. So short-sighted. Valentina slowly removed her backpack. You said this is family business. You and Elliot are distant cousins. What does that have to do with the Ashford technology now? Tell her, Elliot. Sophia's smile was predatory. Tell her who you really are. Elliot met Valentina's eyes. Lawrence Ashford had 3 sons, not 2 as recorded in history. The youngest, William, was erased from family records after the technology theft. He was 8 years old when his brothers murdered their father and stole his innovations. The same age you were when Victor Thorne acquired you, Valentina said, pieces falling into place. DNA testing confirmed it last year. I'm not just descended from the Ashfords. I'm directly descended from William, the disinherited son. While I, Sophia interjected, descend from Robert Ashford, the brother who successfully monetized the stolen technology. History favors winners, doesn't it? History favors truth eventually, Valentina countered. Which is why you're so desperate to control the narrative now. She placed the case on a table between them. The component is here. Release Elliot, and it's yours to study. Study? Sophia laughed. We're well beyond academic interest, Dr. Blackwood. My team has already assembled the partial system from components acquired over the years. This control module is the final piece. For what purpose? Valentina asked, though she already suspected. Quantum entangled communication, Elliot answered. Unhackable, untraceable, instantaneous across any distance. Weaponized, it becomes the ultimate surveillance tool. Which is why it can't remain in private hands, said a new voice from the doorway. Nathaniel Reed entered, followed by 2 more armed men. The tactical team tensed but didn't raise their weapons, an established hierarchy. Nathaniel. Right on time, Sophia said. Dr. Reed has been an invaluable consultant, she explained to Valentina. His expertise in historical technologies proved useful in tracking down several components. After you stole my research, Valentina said to Nathaniel, you used it to help them locate Ashford artifacts. Your narrow focus on archaeological preservation limited the practical applications of your discoveries, Nathaniel replied with academic condescension. Some technologies are too valuable to leave buried. Elliot's eyes hadn't left Nathaniel since his entrance. Reed isn't just your consultant, Sophia. He's your insurance policy. Sophia's smile faltered slightly. Government oversight, Elliot continued. Reed reports to someone above your pay grade. Someone who doesn't trust Westfield Industries with exclusive control of quantum communication. The tension in the room shifted perceptibly. The tactical team exchanged glances. Enough speculation, Nathaniel snapped. Dr. Blackwood, open the case. Valentina moved to the table. First, release Elliot. You're not in a position to negotiate, Nathaniel countered, drawing a pistol. Actually, I am. Valentina opened the case to reveal not the Ashford component, but a replica, detailed enough to fool casual inspection. The real component is secured elsewhere. Kill either of us, and you'll never find it. Nathaniel stepped forward, examining the replica. His expression darkened. You've made a serious miscalculation. No, you have, Elliot said calmly. That replica contains a tracking beacon that's been broadcasting our location for the past 10 minutes. As if summoned by his words, the distinct sound of helicopter rotors grew suddenly louder outside. The tactical team leader cursed, moving to the window. Black Hawks, Multiple units. My security protocol initiated the moment I was taken, Elliot explained. The government agencies I work with, the official ones, don't appreciate unauthorized operations on U.S. soil. Chaos erupted as the tactical team grabbed equipment, preparing to evacuate. Sophia backed toward the rear exit, visibly calculating her options. Nathaniel pointed his gun directly at Valentina. Where is the real component? Somewhere you'll never. The window shattered as a smoke grenade bounced across the floor. In seconds, the room filled with tactical smoke. Valentina dropped to the ground as shouting and gunfire erupted. Someone grabbed her arm. Elliot, somehow free of his restraints. He pulled her toward a side door as commands were barked through the smoke. Stay low, he ordered, guiding her through the kitchen and out a service entrance. They emerged into chaos. Helicopters circled overhead while uniformed tactical teams secured the perimeter. Elliot led her directly to a man who appeared to be in charge. Commander Davis, Elliot nodded. Timing could have been better. Traffic over New York, the commander replied dryly. Everyone inside surrendering quietly? Sophia Westfield and Nathaniel Reed were heading for the back exit. They're your primary targets. Davis acknowledged with a nod and moved to coordinate his team. Elliot guided Valentina to a medical unit set up at a safe distance. You came with the fake component, he said once they were seated. Reckless, but I'm grateful. The real one is secured in the ATV's hidden compartment. Marcus texted me the access code right before we landed in Vermont. She examined his face, relieved that his injuries were superficial. How did you get free? Lockpicking is a useful skill when you're raised by a paranoid intelligence operative. He held up his still bruised wrists. Though not my most elegant work. A commotion near the lodge drew their attention. Sophia and Nathaniel were being escorted out in handcuffs. Their expressions a study in contrasting reactions, cold fury versus disbelieving shock. As they watched, Commander Davis approached. Ms. Westfield is demanding her lawyer and diplomatic immunity. Dr. Reed is offering full cooperation in exchange for consideration. Standard playbook, Elliot observed. We found something you should see. Davis handed Elliot a tablet. Hidden room in the basement. They've been busy. The tablet showed images of a partially assembled device, larger components connected in a configuration that matched drawings from the Ashford journals. Additional photographs revealed documents, historical records, technical specifications, and personal correspondence dating back to the original theft. Lawrence Ashford's private papers, Valentina breathed. These are originals, the actual documentation of the technology development and the conspiracy to steal it. The historical evidence you needed, Elliot said quietly. Proof of what really happened to the Ashford legacy. She looked up at him. And proof of your legitimate claim to it. Not just mine. He handed the tablet back to Davis. Have your team pack everything for transport to the secure facility in Boston. Full archaeological protocols. As Davis departed, Elliot turned to Valentina. There's something else you should see. Something I've been working towards since I discovered my connection to the Ashfords. He led her to his helicopter, now cleared for departure. The real reason I've been searching for the Ashford technology isn't to control it or profit from it. Then what? Elliot's expression softened, revealing a vulnerability she'd rarely glimpsed. To return it to its rightful place in history, and to the descendants of those who helped create it. 3 weeks after the confrontation in Vermont, Valentina stood before the board of directors of Thorne Industries, presenting her findings on the Ashford technology. The conference room fell silent as she concluded her report. Based on our analysis, the Ashford transmitter represents the earliest known application of quantum entanglement principles, predating modern quantum theory by over a century. Its existence challenges our understanding of technological development in American history. Board members exchanged uneasy glances. Elliot, seated at the head of the table, maintained his typical inscrutable expression. And the patent implications? Asked Eleanor Whitman, the oldest board member. If Thorne Industries claims ownership through Mr. Thorne's Ashford lineage, we're not claiming ownership, Elliot interrupted. The Ashford transmitter will be donated to the Smithsonian, with full academic access for research institutions. Protests erupted immediately. The military applications alone, our shareholders expect, our competitors will. Elliot raised his hand, silencing the room. My decision is final. The patent will be held in a public trust. with licensing managed by an independent foundation dedicated to historical preservation and ethical technology development. After dismissing the stunned board members, Elliot joined Valentina at the window overlooking Boston Harbor. "That went about as expected," he said dryly. "You just surrendered technology worth billions," Valentina observed. "They have reason to be concerned. I'm not surrendering it. I'm protecting it from becoming another weapon or surveillance tool." He turned to face her. "You were right from the beginning. The Ashford innovations belong to history, not to any single family or corporation." In the weeks since Vermont, their relationship had evolved into something neither had anticipated, a partnership based on mutual respect and growing trust. Working side by side to document and analyze the recovered technology, they had developed a connection that transcended professional collaboration. "The federal prosecution team contacted me this morning," Elliot said. "Sophia's diplomatic maneuvers failed. She's facing charges for kidnapping, attempted murder, and conspiracy. And Nathaniel? Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. He's providing details on international connections to the Ashford technology search. Apparently, several governments have been quietly hunting for it." Not surprising. Valentina gathered her presentation materials. History's greatest innovations are often weaponized. The Ashfords seemed to understand that risk, which is why they encoded and separated the components. Elliot checked his watch. "The helicopter leaves in 30 minutes. Are you ready for the unveiling?" The Rockport estate had been transformed in their absence. The excavation site was now enclosed within a modern research facility, its architecture deliberately designed to complement the historical mansion. As they walked the grounds, Valentina marveled at how quickly Elliot had implemented his vision. "The Ashford Historical Research Center," he explained, leading her through laboratories where technicians carefully restored artifacts, dedicated to documenting and preserving innovations that were erased from history. Not just the Ashford technologies. "No, my team has identified dozens of cases where groundbreaking innovations were suppressed, stolen, or lost to history. Many involved women and minority inventors who never received credit for their work." Valentina stopped, suddenly understanding the deeper purpose. "This isn't just about your family legacy. It's about all the others who suffered similar fates. Intellectual theft spans centuries," Elliot said quietly. "My adoptive father participated in it. So did Sophia's family. So did countless corporations and governments. Someone needs to correct the record." They reached the original excavation site, now transformed into a climate-controlled exhibition space. The fully assembled Ashford transmitter stood at its center, a brass and copper device that somehow combined Victorian aesthetics with futuristic technology. "Initial testing confirms it works," Elliot said. "Quantum-entangled communication across any distance, completely secure. 2 centuries ahead of its time. And tomorrow it goes public." Valentina circled the device. "Are you ready for how this will change historical narratives?" "I'm more concerned with how it will change your future plans." His tone shifted, becoming more personal. "The Yale Archaeology Department called again. They're eager to have you lead their new technological archaeology program." The prestigious offer had arrived a week ago, complete academic redemption after Nathaniel's public confession to plagiarizing her work. It represented everything she had worked toward before the Thorn Foundation had upended her life. "I haven't decided yet," she replied carefully. "You should accept. It's a remarkable opportunity." Valentina studied him, trying to read behind his controlled expression. "Is that what you want?" For once, Elliot seemed at a loss for words. Their professional partnership had gradually evolved into something deeper, neither of them quite ready to define it amid the chaos of recent events. "What I want," he finally said, "is for you to make the decision that's right for you. Your career was derailed once by someone who put their interests above yours. I won't be responsible for doing the same. And if staying here is what I want, then I would offer you the position of research director for the Ashford Center, with complete academic freedom and resources beyond what any university could provide." She smiled. "That sounds suspiciously like you've already prepared the offer letter." "It may be in my office," he admitted. "Along with this." He removed a small wooden box from his pocket, similar to the one that had contained the Ashford component, but older, its surface worn smooth by generations of handling. This belonged to Lawrence Ashford. It was among the personal effects recovered in Vermont. He opened it to reveal an antique ring set with a deep blue sapphire. It was his wife's, the woman who worked alongside him developing the technology that history would later attribute solely to him. Elliot, Valentina began, but he shook his head. I'm not proposing, not yet. That would be premature even for someone with my limited social graces. His expression softened into a rare, genuine smile. Consider it a promise. Take the Yale position if that's what you want. The ring, and I, will wait. And if I stay, then we build something new. Together. He gestured around them. This center isn't just about preserving the past. It's about creating a future where innovation is protected and properly credited. Valentina took the box, feeling its weight and history. The dangerous billionaire with a dark past and the disgraced archaeologist. Hardly a conventional partnership. Convention is overrated. Elliot's hand found hers. Innovation requires risk. 6 months later, they stood together on the cliffs behind the Rockport estate, watching the Atlantic crash against the rocks below. The Ashford Historical Research Center had officially opened to academic and public acclaim. The recovered technology had sparked a reassessment of American industrial history, with scholars around the world clamoring for access. Valentina had declined Yale's offer, instead establishing the center's archaeological training program for students from universities worldwide. Her reputation was not only restored but enhanced, her methodologies now taught in graduate programs globally. Elliot approached his work with similar dedication, systematically divesting Thorne Industries from military contracts while expanding its historical preservation initiatives. The ghosts of his adoptive father's legacy were being systematically exorcised. Marcus called from Boston, Valentina said as Elliot joined her at the cliff's edge. The final appeal in Sophia's case was denied. 20 years minimum. She's already planning her comeback. Elliot didn't seem particularly troubled. People like Sophia and Victor never truly disappear. No, but their power diminishes when their secrets are exposed. Valentina turned toward the setting sun. Speaking of secrets, the DNA results arrived from the lab. His expression remained calm, but she knew him well enough now to detect the subtle tension in his shoulders. For weeks, they had been tracing additional Ashford descendants, distant relatives who might have inherited pieces of the family legacy without knowing its significance. How many? 17 living descendants, scattered across 5 countries. Most have no idea of their connection to the Ashfords. Elliot nodded, absorbing this information. They should be contacted, offered the chance to learn their true history. And shares in the Ashford Trust, Valentina added. As you insisted in the foundation charter. It's their birthright as much as mine. She slipped her hand into his, the sapphire ring catching the last rays of sunlight. After months of careful navigation through professional collaboration and personal attraction, they had finally acknowledged what had been building between them since that first confrontation at the excavation site. There's something else you should know, she said, unable to keep a smile from her voice. The genealogical research uncovered something unexpected. The Blackwood family line intersects with the Ashfords in the 1850s, a female Ashford descendant who married into my family. Elliot turned to her, genuine surprise breaking through his usual reserve. You're an Ashford descendant? Distant, but yes. I've apparently been researching my own family history without knowing it. That explains your intuitive understanding of the technology, he said, drawing her closer. And your stubborn determination to protect it. A family trait, perhaps. Valentina tilted her face up to his. One we seem to share. As they sealed their future with a kiss, the last light faded from the sky. Behind them stood the mansion that had housed centuries of secrets. Before them stretched an ocean of possibilities. Between them, a legacy once broken by betrayal was being rebuilt through trust, proving that even the most dangerous histories could find redemption in the right hands.